Take the A Train was the signature theme song of the Duke Ellington Band. Written in 1939 by Billy Strayhorn, this standard still gets a lot of love today, and it's an important one to know and have in your repertoire. Now in today's lesson, I'm going to show you the chords and I'll break down the harmony, the chord shapes, the chart that you see on the screens available from my website, link in the description, and also stay tuned till the end of the video where I give you a peek into what's available on my Patreon page this month, where Take the A Train is the standard of the month. In terms of the chord shapes that you're going to need for this one, C6, which you can do as a 4-note voicing if you want to add the note on the B string there. Also going to need C7 off that root. Off the root note D, we're going to need D7 flat 5. And if you find that chord tricky, just play this 3-note voicing of D7 instead. And you're also going to need D minor 7. We're also going to need F major 7. Off the root G, we're going to need G7, G7 flat 9, and G minor 7. Now there's two chords there which often people have difficulty with, the D7 flat 5 and the G7 flat 9. If either of those chords are difficult, for the D7 just play a 3-note voicing of the D7 and that will work. For the G7 flat 9, just play the G7 and stick with that. And that's just a little way you can simplify things if you need to, rather than letting, say, one or two chords really throw you. So here's the A section on the screen. I've written this with first and second time bars, and we start out on C6. We've got 2 bars of that, 2 bars of D7 flat 5, bar of D minor 7, bar of G7, and then the first time bar, D minor 7, G7, back to the start, C6, G7 flat 5, D minor 7, G7, C6, then the second time bar, G minor 7, C7. Just a couple things to note there. The first line, the chords get 2 bars each. So 2 bars of C, 2 bars of D7 flat 5. Then we move to 1 bar of the D minor 7, the G7 and the C. And then both the first time and the second bar, you got 2 chords in each bar. So those are changing on beats 1 and 3. So you go, say, the first time bar, D minor 7, G7, it's 1, 2 on the D minor 7, 3, 4 on the G7. And same for the second time bar, it's 1, 2 on the G minor 7, 3, 4 on the C7. Now, it's important to observe those things and make sure you're playing your chords for the right length of time. And I'll just play that A section through with the first and second time endings for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Section. So that's our A section. So here's the B section on the screen. First thing to notice, 4 bars of the same chord. That's good. It's not to say that's the way everyone always plays it, but for a basic version of the chords, it's fine. So we've got 4 bars of F major 7. I'd say a typical problem here is knowing how many bars you play, but it's easy to play 3 or 5 and not 4. So just a tip here when you've got to play 4 bars is count the bars. So go like 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's easy to get lost doing that and remembering which bar you're on. So just a pointer there. 4 bars of that chord though, and you can feel like the song's gone somewhere else, which we'll come back to when we look at the harmony. 2 bars of D7. And then to get back to the A section, we're going to go bar of D minor 7, then 2 beats on G7, 2 beats on G7 flat 9, which hopefully you can hear. It's going to lead us nicely back to the A section. So that B goes. that leads us back to the final A section, which is the same as the first A section. So it goes 2 bars of C6, 2 bars of D7 flat 5, bar of D minor 7, bar of G7, bar of C6, D minor 7, G7, then we're good to go again. Now before I break down the harmony, let me just play that for you close up and once through. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's break down the harmony of this one. Now the parent scale, if you like, for this song, we're in the key of C, will be the C major scale, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And we can build chords off each of those notes, giving us chord 1, C major 7, chord 2, D minor 7, chord 3, E minor 7, chord 4, F major 7, chord 5, G7, chord 6, A minor 7, and chord 7, B minor 7 flat 5, back to C where we started. We've got quite a few of those chords, and we've got a couple chords which don't belong to the key as well. Now one thing to say, although I've harmonised the scale in major 7s though, it doesn't mean that's necessarily how they're always going to come in a song. You can voice a major chord as a 6, as a 6-9, and you can voice, you know, a dominant as a 7 flat 5, flat 9 as we see in this song. And when it comes to the first chord of the song, often people will play it as C6 or C6-9 rather than C major 7. It's a slightly sweeter sound. Sometimes you'll find major 7 chords clash with the melody too. I think for this one it's more a stylistic one in terms of the time in the era. Quite often major chords are voiced as 6 or 6-9. So we start out on chord 1, C6, then we move to D7 flat 5. You see I've labelled that as red with the Roman numeral 2-7. Now this is a dominant, it's a dominant out of key, and D7 likes to go to G7, that's where it likes to lead, and we're going to get to G7 via the 2 of the key, D minor 7, then we get the 5, G7, 5 always likes to go back to 1, back to chord 1, C6, and then so we can get back to the beginning, we're going to have a quick 2 and then 5, D minor 7, G7. We go again then for the second A, chord 1, then chord 2, but as a dominant, so out of key, which is why it sounds so striking and quite tense. Then working our way back to the C chord, we go 2, D minor 7, G7, chord 5, chord 1, and then we've got these 2 out of key chords here. You see they're labelled in red, G minor 7, C7. Now you may have played G minor 7, C7 before. Hopefully you recognise that D minor 7 and G7 has the same kind of movement as G minor 7 to C7, and that's because they're both 2 5s. D minor 7, G7 is the 2 5 in the key of C, whereas G minor 7, C7 is the 2 5 from the key of F major, which takes us perfectly to the B section. And we start the B section out on chord 4, the key of C, F major 7, and the G minor 7, C7 was there to lead us there, because C7 is the dominant of F. And we've landed on chord 4, which is a common thing to do at the start of a B section, as we've had this feeling of moving somewhere. And then I say we need to work our way back to start the next A section, and this D7 is going to lead us towards G7, so that's an out of key secondary dominant, chord 2 is a dominant, and we go D minor 7, 2 to the 5, G7, and then the flat 9, just a little alteration to the dominant to give a feeling of really wanting to get back to the next chord. And G7, as I said earlier, chord 5 always wants to lead to well, I say not always, but likes to often go to C, sets up the next A section, chord 1, chord 2, but as a dominant, so an out of key chord, then the 2, then the 5, and then the 1, and then so we can start all over again, a little quick 2-5. So things to notice there: the 2-5, D minor 7, G7 leading us back to C, the G minor 7, C7 leading us to F, and just noticing those things and recognize those things. If you played other songs in the key of C, you'd notice similar things occurring. Now, if you'd like to learn more with me about this standard, this month over on Patreon, there's a chord melody arrangement, a comping study which builds on this basic version of the chords and includes inversions and different rhythms, a beginner's solo, and an intermediate solo. If that's something you're interested, links in the description. If you've got any questions based on today's lesson, you leave them below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button, leave a comment. Until next time, you take care.